Here's why bamboo keeps up in grazing circles. The leaves test 12 to 20% crude protein. The canes rebound in as little as a month, and a mature stand can outproduce cool season pasture in drought. But here's the part most people leave out. The wrong species will invade stream banks, overwhelm diversity, and spread faster than you can contain it. Today, we're going to separate the forage value from the ecological cost and show when bamboo is an asset and when it's a mistake you'll be fighting for decades. The fastest species on record hit 3 feet of growth per day, faster than any fodder crop on Earth. Bamboo does something most forages simply can't. It produces huge amounts of leafy, digestible biomass on soils where traditional pasture collapses. Thin clay, shale, eroded slopes, or places where drought wipes out your annual plan. It can push new shoots in 30 to 45 days, hold green leaves into December, and rebound after browsing in a way willow or mulberry rarely will. The controversy comes down to 2 very different plants hiding under the same name. Running bamboo, incredibly productive and incredibly dangerous to a landscape. Clumping bamboo, controlled, useful, and far less explosive. Clumping types behave like a shrub or small tree. They expand slowly, form a tight crown, and stay where you put them. You trade some production for much lower ecological risk. Running types do the opposite. Bamboo sits at the crossroads between regenerative promise and ecological disaster. If you understand the biology, you can use it without wrecking your land. If you don't, it will own your property long after your livestock are gone. Bamboo as a fodder crop, what the research actually says. Most people who dismiss bamboo as feed have never looked at a forage analysis. The numbers almost surprise almost everyone. Across multiple studies, China, India, Ethiopia, Brazil, bamboo leaves consistently land in the same nutritional band as quality tree fodder. Crude protein commonly 12 to 20%. Low to moderate lignin depending on species and leaf age. Good digestibility in the leaf fraction. And a mineral profile that doesn't create the same antagonism problems you see in brassicas or high K grasses. Young culm shoots are even better. Before the fiber sets, shoots routinely set 16 to 25% crude protein, with rumen degradability comparable to alfalfa stems. Goats absolutely hammer them, but cattle will eat them without hesitation once they learn it. Bamboo also behaves differently in the rumen. It ferments steadily without the frothy gas production you get in lush legumes. Bloat risk is low, and animals stay on feed through the cold snaps because the plant maintains a surprising amount of green leaf into winter. None of this makes bamboo a magic feed, but it puts it in the same class as mulberry, willow, or hybrid poplar for dry season survival. It's not junk browse. It's legitimate fodder, with the same caveat as any perennial. Nutrition depends on what part of the plant they're eating and when they're eating it. The takeaway: bamboo has real forage value. The question has never been, is it nutritious? The question is whether that nutrition is worth the management cost. And in the next section, you'll see why farmers get tempted in the first place. Growth speed, the real reason farmers get tempted. Bamboo earns its reputation because nothing else on a marginal acre grows this fast. And this speed is exactly what creates both the promise and the danger. Running bamboo, the Philistachus types, can push 2 to 3 feet of vertical growth per day in peak season. That's not folklore, that's measured. In a single growing window, it can build enough leaf and small branch structure to provide usable fodder in 30 to 60 days, even if you cut it to the ground. Clumping species are slower, they grow more like a shrub layer. 6 to 12 inches a day, expanding outward just a few inches per year instead of launching rhizomes through a fence line. This is why farmers consider it. Once established, bamboo behaves like a self-resetting forage reserve. It shrugs off drought, heat, browsing pressure, and poor fertility in ways grasses and even tree fodder simply can't. If you're managing goats, bamboo gives you reliable green feed long after grasses quit. But here's the part most videos skip. Raw tonnage alone is an irresponsible metric. High yield doesn't tell you whether the plant stays where you put it, whether it destroys your understory, or whether you're trading one forage solution for a long-term ecological burden. Productivity is the reason bamboo enters the conversation. Ecology is the reason it remains controversial. And that tension is exactly what the next section tackles head-on. The ecological downsides. Here's the part that gets glossed over in almost every bamboo for fodder video. The ecological downside isn't theoretical, it's documented, expensive, and often irreversible. Rhizome spread, the number one concern by a mile. Running bamboo pushes underground rhizomes outward at 5 to 15 feet per year, sometimes more on moist soils. It doesn't respect fence lines. It doesn't stop at property boundaries. Once it finds a path under a fence, it keeps going until it hits something it can't push through. And very few things stop it. This is how people end up with bamboo erupting in their neighbor's driveway, or pushing into a septic field, or lifting the edge of a shed pad. Several states now have active court cases involving bamboo encroachment and landowner liability. If you plant running bamboo without containment, you're signing up for a permanent management burden. Understory suppression, more than just shade. Dense bamboo stands block 80 to 98% of light at ground level. The leaf litter from some running species also shows mild allelopathic effects. It suppresses seed germination from native grasses and forbs. Put those together and you get exactly what ecologists warn about: a closed canopy monoculture that shuts down native regeneration and eliminates understory diversity. If you care about wildlife habitat, pollinator species, or regenerative plant succession, running bamboo sets you back years. Hydrological changes, the invisible impact. Bamboo roots form a tight mat near the soil surface that intercepts water before it moves down slope. On some landscapes, this is helpful. On most, it alters drainage patterns. Shallow-rooted natives dry out. In riparian zones, bamboo shifts the entire bank ecology and can outcompete willow, switchgrass, and other stabilizers that hold the stream bank together differently. The plant isn't damaging the watershed, it's re-engineering it into a bamboo-dominant system. And once a watershed shifts that way, getting grass, forbs, or young trees back under it is a long, expensive fight. Soil implications, not the same as tree systems. People assume bamboo builds soil like willow or mulberry. It doesn't. The litter decomposes slowly, the canopy blocks sunlight, and the fungal-bacterial ratio tilts in a direction that isn't always helpful for grass recovery. Over time, you end up with a tough mat of rhizomes with very little understory structure. It's stable, but not necessarily productive for anything beyond bamboo itself. Legal and social risk, and it's growing. More countries are creating bamboo containment laws because neighbors are tired of rhizomes crossing property lines. In several states, you can be fined or forced to remove bamboo if it escapes your boundary. Once it escapes, removal is a multi-year excavation project. Running bamboo can produce a massive amount of fodder, but if you plant it without containment, you're not regenerating land, you're creating a long-term ecological and social liability. This is the part most people never consider until they're knee-deep in a thicket they can't control. The regenerative case for bamboo, when it actually works. Now here's the turn, because the story isn't bamboo is bad. The real story is only certain bamboo species belong in regenerative systems, and only in the right context. If you want bamboo to be an asset instead of a problem, the rule is simple. Clumping bamboo only, no exceptions. Clumpers behave like shrubs, not invaders. They expand outward a few inches per year. They don't send rhizomes tunneling into your neighbor's garden. And because they stay put, they become a tool, not a threat. Here's where clumping bamboo actually excels. Emergency winter fodder. Clumping species hold green leaf deep into the winter and recover quickly after grazing. But when a drought or ice storm wipes out your plan, a clump of bamboo can keep goats, cattle, and sheep eating green material when nothing else is growing. Goat browse systems. Goats treat bamboo like candy. High CP leaves, tender new shoots, and no bloat issues. A small clump can take repeated browsing and still bounce back, stabilizing steep banks. On eroding slopes where trees struggle to establish, clumping bamboo builds structure quickly, anchors soil, and survives intense runoff events. It's one of the few plants that can do this without becoming invasive. Living windbreaks. Clumps form dense vertical walls that slow wind and protect delicate crops or paddocks. They tolerate pruning and manage storm winds better than willow or poplar in many regions. Marginal land rehabilitation. On acidic, rocky, or thin soils where tree fodder fails, clumping bamboo still grows. It doesn't fix nitrogen, but it creates biomass where you'd otherwise get nothing. Best species for controlled fodder use. Bambusa oldhamii. Tall, productive, excellent browse, stays put. Fargesia species. Cold hardy, shade tolerant, excellent for northern climates. Bambusa multiplex. Manageable size, reliable clumper, solid leaf production. these aren't miracle species. They're simply productive plants that don't try to take over the world. If bamboo has a place in regenerative farming, this is the version that fits. Running bamboo delivers the yield, but clumping bamboo delivers the sanity. When bamboo becomes a liability, the regenerative red flags. Bamboo can be an asset, but in the wrong context, it becomes a decades-long liability. And this is where most fodder hack videos go silent. Regenerative agriculture isn't just about producing biomass. It's about protecting ecological function for the next generation. So, here are the situations where bamboo simply doesn't belong. First red flag, running bamboo without a rhizome barrier. If you put a running species straight into soil with no physical contaminant, you're not planting a crop, you're releasing a root system that will move until it hits something solid enough to stop it. Once it escapes, you're committing yourself or the next landowner to years of excavation and root management. Second red flag, bamboo near waterways. In riparian corridors, bamboo changes everything. It places native willow and sedge communities, alters bank hydrology, and creates monoculture walls that interrupt wildlife movement. This isn't fodder, it's a permanent rewrite of the creek ecology. Third red flag, planting anywhere near a property line. It doesn't matter how good your relationship is with your neighbor today. They may sell, bamboo doesn't. When rhizomes cross onto another property, you are often legally responsible. In some states, you can be fined or forced to remove an entire stand because of one escaping rhizome. Fourth red flag, fields you plan to convert to tree systems later. If your end goal is silvopasture with mulberry, poplar, or chestnut, bamboo competes directly with that vision. Running species outcompete young trees, and even clumpers can shade out early tree establishment. You'll spend more time managing bamboo than growing the future system. Fifth red flag, regions where the native understory is already fragile. If you're in an area with treated woodland species, rare understory plants, or already stressed habitats, bamboo becomes a multiplier of existing ecological pressure. And the biggest red flag of all, planting something that the next owner may not be able to control. Bamboo isn't a seasonal experiment. You're planting something that can outlive your management plan by 50 years. Bamboo isn't a quick feed fix. If your context doesn't justify that level of commitment, it's the wrong plant. If you decide to use bamboo, here's the controlled, ethical way. If someone chooses bamboo after understanding the risks, then it needs to be planted the same way you'd install a long-term perennial infrastructure, deliberately, safely, and with full accountability for its behavior. For people set on using running bamboo, there's only one ethical approach. Install a true rhizome barrier, 30 to 36 inches deep, made from HDPE, not landscaping fabric or root screens that buckle. Angle the barrier lip outward so rhizomes don't climb up and over as they grow. Commit to mechanical rhizome pruning every 6 to 12 months. This isn't optional, it's containment. Never plant running bamboo near water, drainage lines, septic fields, or property boundaries. Assume full responsibility permanently. If the bamboo escapes in year 11, it's still yours to fix. Now, the better option, clumping bamboo, which behaves more like a forest shrub. Plant clumps 10 to 15 feet apart, giving room for expansion without forming a solid wall. Match browsing pressure to growth stage. Tender shoots are ideal for goats. Mature leaves are excellent for cattle and sheep. Prune older woody clumps every year to keep sunlight penetrating the clump and to maintain leaf accessibility. Mulch heavily in the establishment years to stabilize moisture and encourage early vigor. Integrate bamboo with silvopasture crops like mulberry or hybrid poplar, so the system stays diverse instead of becoming a single species block. This is what responsible bamboo management looks like, not just planting a patch and hoping for the best. Done correctly, bamboo becomes a controlled, predictable component of your land system. Done casually, it becomes someone else's nightmare. Clumping bamboo flips the equation. Less explosive, more predictable, and genuinely regenerative when placed correctly. It stays where you put it. It provides reliable green material when everything else is brown. And it buys you security when weather flips, supply chains falter, or winter runs long. It isn't a miracle crop, but it's a useful one, especially for goats, mixed browse systems, and marginal soils where other fodder shrubs struggle. So, the verdict is simple. Bamboo isn't good or bad, it's a tool. And like fire, it's powerful, useful, and dangerous, depending on how you handle it. If you choose the right species and commit to containment, bamboo can be a resilient, long-term fodder reserve. If you choose the wrong type, or plant it casually, you inherit a problem that future landowners and the local ecosystem will pay for. If you want this crop to be regenerative, not destructive, the entire decision comes down to species selection, placement, and long-term management. So, what do you think? Is it a helpful fodder or an ecological disaster? Have you tried it or seen it in use? Let us know in the comments. See you next time.